Shalom, shalom, friends. It's good to have you with us as we are rapidly approaching the holiday of Pesach. And I'm going to share with you two little ideas that I will be including in the Seder on the first night of Pesach. If you're with us here in Gainesville for the community Seder tomorrow night. The first idea is about the yachatz. That's the part of the Seder where we take 3 matzahs and we break the middle matzah. And we take the middle part of that middle matzah and we put it away. Some of you may realize that that part that we put away is really going to be the afikomen. That is, we put it away someplace where we know the kids are going to find it, where it can be easily accessible, even though the kids think that we are saving it for the dessert. They figure it out that we're playing a game with them. But, you know, the explanation is very interesting for why we do this. Now, most of the time, when you hear people give an explanation, they'll give a kind of, I don't know, this matzah represents the Jewish people, and there are 3 tribes, Israel, Kohen, Israelites, and Levites, and we break the middle matzah, and we put it away. Sometimes they'll say, well, the reason we break the matzah is other reasons. Is the halacha is that we on Shabbat we have 2 matzahs, and here it is a holiday, and we have an extra matzah, but we save part of it because we only need part of it for the afikomen, so they relate it to Shabbat. But I want to give you a totally different approach to this broken matzah, because I think it really, for me, hits on something very, very important, and that is that we are living in a world that is certainly full of brokenness. You know, it's not just that there is a lot of dysfunction in the world and that we see people who have are doing things that we very much disagree with. There's also a kind of brokenness in the way we communicate with one another, especially with people who disagree with us. There is a loss of respectful communication, a loss of dialogue that is considerate and thoughtful. So often people are tuned in to their own channel in such a deep way that they don't have any bandwidth to listen to anybody else. I think we break that matzah because we feel that there's something broken in the world that we're living in, broken in the relationships between people. And that matzah is put away. Put away because we are hoping and praying and attempting to find a way to put everything back together again. You know, the children are going to find that broken piece of matzah and they're going to bring it to us. And let's hope that the children find a way eventually to restore the world to wholeness as well. Because I don't think it's going to happen with the adults of our generation. It's going to take the kids. And maybe they will be inspired to do so. There's another part of the Seder that I want to touch on before we go today. And that is the Maror, the bitter herbs. Now, it's very interesting, the history of this bitter herbs, because the truth of the matter is it's got a long history. We usually use horseradish, but as I've mentioned to you in the past, horseradish was not actually a Middle Eastern root than wasn't available in the Middle East. The horseradish is a recent addition to the Seder. We always had something bitter, but it was lettuce. It wasn't horseradish, which is bitter, true, but it's also a little spicy and hot. The horseradish comes from Poland and Germanic areas where in the wintertime lettuce would be less available, and so they needed to get some root vegetable that had a sort of pungent flavor to it. But nevertheless, the maror is supposed to be, is so often explained as reminding us of the bitter work, the bitter conditions that the Israelites lived under when they were in Egypt. I want to change that a little bit. I want to suggest to you that the bitter herbs are a reminder to us that as we go through our lives, we are going to have to learn how to handle the bitter feelings that are natural. The bitter resentments that come up in life. How do we handle those? What are we going to do about those feelings? How do we handle bitterness? There's no ignoring it. The Seder says, take a taste. It's here. Now, what are you going to do about it? And it seems to me we have a choice of thoughtfully handling our bitterness in a way that makes the world better, in a way that brings more peace in the world, in a way that improves the lot of humanity, as opposed to handling our bitterness with violence or with destruction or with chaos. None of those will assuage the root of our bitterness. It is only through thoughtful action, consideration, that we are able to turn our bitterness into compassion. And so when we get to that part of the Seder this year, I hope that's what you'll think about. Not the bitterness that happened long ago. That's true, of course. Bitterness happened long ago. Bitterness has happened in our lives. But what are we going to do with that bitterness? How are we going to internalize it, take it inside, and deal with it in a productive manner? There are lots of lessons in the Seder. I mean, we could go on, and I'll have more time tomorrow night when we do the Seder, but to do some of it. But the truth of the matter is, it takes two Seders. You can't even do it all in one evening. Even if you stay up, to past midnight and all of that, you can't get it all done. It takes a while to consider what the meaning is of all the symbols and rituals of our Seder, but we'll touch on some of them tomorrow night. And I hope that for you, wherever you're having a Seder, whatever Seder you're going to attend, that you too find it a meaningful observance, a meaningful ritual, and something that is life-affirming, life-changing for you as well. We'll conclude as we do every week with a short prayer. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, b'alma divra kirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agalav izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam le'omei amaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitboar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yidadar v'yidaleh v'yidalal shemei d'kudisha b'richu. V'yela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, damiran be'alma v'imramim. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim olenu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imramav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. May the one who brings peace above bring peace to us, bring peace to this world that needs it so desperately, and let us say, Amen. Chag Pesach Sameach, everybody. Have a wonderful Passover. We'll see you next week.